Good afternoon, good evening everyone, and welcome to the Skip Barber World Cup Season 2, round number 5 here at Winton Motor Raceway. We are at the National Circuit, 1.86 miles or just under 3 kilometres, and round number 5. Format for tonight is going to be 2 sprint races, lone qualifying, which is currently on the go, so we are going to jump onto that in a few seconds. So apologies for the small little confusion on the time there, but we thank you very much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to bring you round number 5. We had some fantastic racing last week, and again we are going to see 2 different races that we have the opportunity for different races, 18 laps apiece here for both of the races. As you can see, 43 degrees off the track temp. It's a pretty warm day to say the least, and everyone's on qualifying now. This is a 1 lap qualifying that people have here, so we are going to jump straight over. And in fact, actually, before we do that, let's have a quick look at the standings. In terms of standing wise, Philip Hammer, not the best of rounds that he would have wanted last week. However, he is still leading the championship, 315 points. Nick Vaughan-Roberts in second with 288 points. Manuel Lucchetta for the HSRT outfit, 258. Adam Miles in fourth with 252. Armadio in fifth, 243. Kevin Budgeon in sixth, 233. And you see there, Scholes, Hooker, Miles and Fabra. That is your top 10. And it's still relatively close in that mid-pack. From 3rd to 8th, it's still very, very close. A lot to play for. It's still very, very close through the entire field, in all honesty, in terms of the championship as it currently is. Especially, obviously, again, there's little pockets of battles that you see within the championship. But there's a long way to go. There's still a lot of things that can happen and certainly will happen. So, again, going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes. So qualifying is underway. I'll tell you what, let us go and have a look at what is happening with qualifying now. So if we go to one of the drivers out on track that's going to be one of the first people to set their lap time is Chaz Webber. And whereabouts is he? There he is on circuit there for the Missed Apex Professionals number 225 as he comes down into... And Winton, new circuit for this season, or has been a new circuit for the in recent weeks. It was recently added to the iRacing service, so good to be able to see this being used. It's based in Australia. It's a relatively long circuit, in all honesty. We're looking for about a lap of a 1:30 here for the drivers coming through. Anything 1:30 is going to be certainly a good lap. Thorsten Seifert comes across the line first in the Pro-Am category for a 32.679. What is Chaz Webber going to be able to do? He puts the time in of 1:32.3. That's going to be good. Nick Vaughan-Roberts, though, first time set on the board. What is it going to be for Nick Vaughan-Roberts? The Chaz Webber currently leading the AM class. Nick Vaughan-Roberts is going to be one of the first people to cross the line in the Pro. Philip Hammer just behind, though, by a couple of tenths. Have a look at that. So you got Vaughan-Roberts, Philip Hammer, and then Chris Wayne. It is 1 lap qualifying this time. Only 1 single lap. That is it. So interesting to see how it, well, I said some people may not even be able to set lap times, in all honesty, because depending on if, and I think Manuel Lucchetta was one of the people that weren't able to set a lap. No, he was not. What about Kevin Budgeon? He's going to be coming across the line in a second. So Kevin Budgeon comes across the line, and it is going to be for Budgeon. Where does it put him? It puts him in 8th overall, 4th in class. Sebastian Schulz, though, goes across the line. He's in 2nd, so Nick Vaughan-Roberts still leading the way here. Adam Miles is yet to settle up, and in fact, he's just about to come across the line now. So what is it going to be for Adam Miles? Is it going to be... It is P7, P5 overall, and P7 in class. So only a couple more drivers left to go, actually. There's a couple of drivers that haven't set lap times. So the people that haven't set lap times, so you've got Lucchetta, Fabro, and Daniele Forgerini. Neither of those drivers, in fact, actually, that's qualified, done and dusted. So it doesn't take long, to be fair, and that is the end of qualifying. So we're going to go straight into race number 1. So your official grid for race 1 is Kevin Budgeon leading the way. Adam Miles in 2nd. We're then going to have Roger Hooker in P3. Apologies, so we're going to have Kevin Budgeon first, Christian Miles in 2nd, Nicola Tessato in 3rd, currently leading the AM category. bear in mind, for race 1. Adam Miles in 4th, Thorsten Seifert 5th, Roger Hooker P6, Chaz Webber in 7th, Philip Hammer 8th, Sebastian Schulz 9th, Nick Von Roberts in P10. We're going to run you through the remainder of the grid very, very quickly. 15 drivers on the grid for today's event. As everyone gets their cars on the starting grid for the first time out. I always enjoy these races here. We've seen some very, very good racing here, let's be honest. You know, within this series, I should say. There's been some fantastic racing. I'm sure today is not going to be any different. And obviously, of course, we would not want that whatsoever. We always want good racing, and there's certainly good racing that is provided here. So you can see drivers starting to get on the series, on the race. Now, we're going to just hop to a quick break, and then we'll come back and sort a few audio things out. So bear with us a few moments, and we will be back in a second. Stick around. And we are back. Apologies for that small little audio issue, but we are underway. It's an even start at the front there, if you have a look. So that is going to be side by side. Christian Miles and Kevin Budgeon going down into turn 1 as they go through. Is a little bit screwed, a little bit of a break. Cut back there possibly for Kevin Budgeon. He might try and go up the inside. In fact, I think he's gone and done it though. Look at that. Very, very good start there for Kevin Budgeon. Very, very good cutback maneuver going down into the first complex. That'll be turn 3. And then turn 4. So all seems to be relatively clean for the moment. I think Forgerini has had an incident as well early on in the race. We'll see if we can get a replay of that. Kevin Budgeon is leading the way. The top 3 have already broken away. So that's Kevin Budgeon, Christopher Miles, and Adam Miles have all broken away currently. A little bit of a battle down. Something happened to Nick Von Roberts. I don't know what happened to Nick Von Roberts, but I don't know what entirely happened. He's dropped, what's it, 5 places already. May have not, possibly did not have the best start. Again, we'll see if we can get a replay of that. But the replay event tracker isn't telling us all that much, in all honesty, for what happened to Vaughan Roberts there. So maybe if we have a chat with him later, we'll be able to ask him what did happen for race 1. You can just see, I think that may have been Chris Wayne behind, right at the back of shot you just saw then. A bit side by side, though. This is Manuel Lachetta and Sebastian Schulz. So Schulz had a moment as well. Remember when Schulz started in 6th position. So again, a little bit of a, I think a little bit of confusion perhaps on the timing standings as well, on the timing tower. So again, apologies for that. But lap 1 is done out of 20. We've got 2 races of these. We've got 2 of the identical races, but the main difference, though, being between the races is a top 10 reverse of the race 1 results, of which that would currently be Kevin Budgeon being put into P10. Speaking of which, I mean, Kevin Budgeon has checked out half a second already. Well, I would say checked out. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but the gap has certainly opened up. So I wonder if we can get that pass for Adam Miles. Let's see if we can get that, in fact. So as we go through, this is it going down into turns 1 and 2. Again, just late. A little bit later on the brakes than Christopher Miles manages to go through. Minimal time loss between the 2, in all honesty. So I think that's really, realistically, what you would want. The last thing you want to do is to be too... Again, the problem is you don't want to be too... you don't want to be too... fighting too aggressively to start with. And Adam Miles is on the charge, I've noticed. He's only now a couple of tenths away from Kevin Budgeon. Kevin Budgeon goes a little bit wide. But now that could cost him a little bit. It's coming to the exit of turn 10, I believe, as they now come down into the final 2 corners. As they go through again, a little bit of a late turn in there for Kevin Budgeon. So Adam Miles is right on the tail. He might try and have a bit of move as he comes. There's a clean exit for Budgeon on turn 12, but also a very, very clean exit for Adam Miles. It's going to be a carbon copy of what he did a lap ago on Christopher Miles, last of the late breakers, and it is going to be Adam Miles that goes through. Budgeon was trying to fight it then, in all honesty. He was trying to fight it. Unfortunately, though, did not work out. But, again, slipstream is certainly, it's always an important thing to note here. So if Kevin Budgeon and at this moment, Chris and Miles can both work together. They may be able to stick with Adam Miles. A little bit further down the order, there's been a couple of position changes and a couple of battles that are currently ongoing. Chaz Webber is leading a little trainer Sebastian Scholes and Manuel Echeta. You haven't been able to get past as of yet. Again, there's still plenty of laps to go here. Let's go down into the halfway point now, coming out of turn 7, going through down into 8. Great camera angle there. As we see, and again, you get all of turn 9 as well. Pretty tight corner, actually. It's deceiving, turn 9. You think it opens up more than it actually does. It is a little bit deceiving. You can run quite wide on the exit there, so you have to be a little bit careful. Chaz Webber, though, managing to maintain his current position of 9th overall, 2nd in the AM category, although Nicola Tosato and Chaz Webber are the only 2 drivers in the AM class within this race. So they've only got to be fighting against each other, and 4 cars currently separate them. As we go through end of lap number 3, on to lap number 4. These times ticking down pretty quickly indeed. Fortunerini's just made, I think Chris Wayne has had a moment, not entirely sure what's happened. Fortunerini also had a moment as well, a couple of laps after the start. It's on lap 3, I believe, the start of lap 3. Yeah, just gets a little bit caught up, and that was unfortunately quite a big bit of time loss there. That was going on the exit of, well, actually going into turn 6, just run over the curb. And these cars, they're so low, so light. Any curb that's of some degree of, some form of actual elevation, if there's any elevation within the curves, you've got to be very, very tricky. That's a bit of a send. Wow, that was a send for Sebastian Scholes. He is wanting to get past sooner rather than later. Fair play for Chaz Webber, because he kept it going. He kept Sebastian Scholes behind. There is your on board from Webber, rocking what seems to be a Lando Norris helmet by the looks of that. Just see Sebastian Scholes there. Manuel Echeta not far behind. Let's not count Lucetta out. He's sitting back, just sort of watching everything going on. He's not really doing too much. I don't really blame him, in all honesty. He just wants to sit there and see what happens. This will actually be, well, Manuel Echeta, if he can get past, maybe get one more position, then he will be put on pole position for race number 2. So, this could be some tactful waiting here in terms of what they're actually wanting to do, obviously. But it can all change very, very quickly. I think Nick Vaughan Roberts has just made his way up into... he's just made his way past Philip Hammer as they dive down the inside. It's going to be a cutback for Philip Hammer, possibly. It seems to be as we go down to the exit of 2, down into turn 3. They're going to be side by side as they go into Honda Corner. And it is going to be Nick Vaughan Roberts managing to carry a bit of additional pace. Carries a bit more momentum going through the corner, but gets a little bit... drops a little bit of time on exit. But that does just check up Hammer, Webber and Scholes. So this battle is probably going to be the one to watch for the remainder of the race, because I don't think Philip Hammer is going to want to get... He's not going to want to let Nick Vaughan Roberts off that easily. Down into 7. Through the sweeping, tightening, ever-tightening corner of 8. And then switches straight back into turn 9. A bit of a gap between Roberts and Fair. That gap may come down this slipstream again to consider as well, but Nick Roberts is really on the charge at the moment. So again, with the pace he had in qualifying, it's certainly something that you would very much expect. Adam Miles, though, he has checked out. 1.3 seconds is now the gap between Miles and Budgin. So, I mean, Nick Vaughan Roberts has certainly got the pace to be within that top 3. Pole, P1, though, it's going to be certainly a tall stretch. He has got the laps to do it, though, but he's got to be really, really motoring along. And he's got to be absolutely relentless with the overtakes. The next person in his sights is Fair. And you've got Tosato, Hooker, Miles, and then Budgin. A little bit wide there from Thorsten Fair. That would have cost him a little bit of time. Riding now on board with Nick Vaughan Roberts. You can see again how much of the gap he's closed up already on Fair. Fair goes a little bit wide. Very, very massive amounts of speed carried through there for Fair, though. So he manages to negate what he lost going through 3. It's a little bit possible. That's a bit too wide for Vaughan Roberts. He's gone very, very wide. Very, very massive compromise there going through. You can see how upset the car becomes on the curb on the inside of 6. Go through 7. Get into that sweeping left of 8. Get a tiny bit too wide. Roberts on the entry. Again, it's a very new circuit. So these drivers, will, the guys will be wanting to just get used to the circuit in these conditions. I can't imagine many laps have been run, even with testing. Normally, when you go to a circuit, you have at least some form of knowledge. But this track is so new to the iRacing platform that it's a bit more of a clean slate, level playing field for everyone in some way, shape, or form. So adaptability is very key here. You can see a little bit earlier on the brakes there for Vaughan Roberts, but manages to carry the speed. I have a feeling there's going to be a move, providing he gets a good exit on the last corner, which he does. This could be a move, I think. He's already got this toe. You can just see it there. Is it going to be a carbon copy of what we've seen? It seemed like he backed out for a second there. I could very well be wrong, but it did seem like he backed out for a brief second. I wonder why that could be. Maybe he's waiting for a possible, slightly better opportunity. Yeah, he seems to be... Unless that's the gear change. Doesn't sound like it. Definitely sounds like a lift off of the throttle. So I wonder if that's going to be... You know, I'm not entirely sure why that would be the case. Adam Miles has extended his gap all the way 1.9 seconds now on Kevin Budgin. So that gap is ever increasing, which what that does mean is just the times are... the chance for a possible second place for Vaughan Roberts slipping ever more by each passing lap. Manuel Lucchetta has got past Sebastian Scholz. Let's see a replay of this. Going down into 1. Seems to be the preferred overtaking opportunity for these guys. Oh, there's a bit of contact between Lucchetta and Scholz. There's a little bit of contact. That did give a gap to Chaz Webber of about 7/10. So that's given him a little bit of breathing room. You can see that gap there. Roger Hooker passed Christopher Miles as well. So this was down for 3rd place. And this was going into what seems to be turn 3. Yes, it was. So turn 3 move, the first one we've seen of this race. Yeah, clean textbook move, minimal time loss there by both drivers. Again, can't really argue with that. So this is the gap. This is still the gap to keep an eye out for. Let's see if he has a bit of a lift again. Yep, again, there's a lift. So definitely, Vaughan Roberts is lifting. You had that confirmation there. You can definitely hear the lift within the throttle. I'm interested. We'll see what he does now. Nearly halfway through this first race, bear in mind. And we'll have one more to go. Let's come down again. This is the other battle to watch out for here. Through a battle now for P9. Chaz Webber still leading this battle here. So Manuel Lucchetta has got him past Sebastian Scholz. But Sebastian Scholz is obviously going to want to make sure that he doesn't lose both of these drivers. And to be honest, as soon as they start battling, or there's any form of overtake at all, that gap will, if there is a gap, it will just come straight back down. A little bit slower there for Chaz Webber. That would have cost both drivers, all 3 of them, a little bit of time. Concertina's up. Let's go through into 8, a little bit wider there for going through turn 9. A little bit wider on entry, but a bit wider on the exit for Lucchetta. That may have opened the door for Scholz to have a little bit of a look up the inside. No, he is too far away. Michael kick is certainly going to kick. Oh, that was a big slide there for Webber. Manages to keep it in check. And that is now going to be Sebastian Scholz. It's possibly going to be, I thought, 3 wide going in. But Sebastian Scholz is going to try and follow Manuel Lucchetta through. They're going to be side by side. Is there any contact? There's a little bit of contact. They're still side by side. Chaz Webber is going to have to give the position up. But Lucchetta did not have the best of start. You can see he didn't have the best of exits on turn 12, so that possibly may allow Webber to get back past. I don't think so. And in fact, Sebastian Scholz might be trying to get past. They're going to be side by side. Still a bit more contact between the two. But Sebastian Scholz does make that position, and Chaz Webber has to concede. So 2 positions lost in the space of about 200 metres. That is certainly not what he would be wanting. And that has already opened the gap. You can see there. So Lucchetta and Scholz have already opened up that gap now to around about half a second to Chaz Webber. But Chaz Webber doing a very good job of defending up until that point. Very good stuff indeed. I just wonder again, is Sebastian Scholz, does he have the pace to catch up to Lucchetta? We'll have to see. The gap from Lucchetta to Hammer now is 1.9 seconds. 1.9 seconds across the last timing line. So we'll see if that has come down at all for the remainder, section of the lap. So 1.906. Keep an eye on that. I believe it has come down. I think it's come down about 2 or 3 tenths. So we'll have to see, like I said, when that timing tower comes across. But Philip Hammer, again, just sort of leaving himself to his own device at the moment. He's just sort of playing, I think he's playing it safe. I mean, as positions go, he has got a good position. This will put him third on the grid for race number 2. So maybe there's a banking of taking some points here going into race 2, and then using race 2 as a possible opener to try and pull away from what's been happening. There's a little bit of a naughty bit of a, well, I don't know, was it a block between Roberts and Hammer? But either way, it's going to be Nick Vaughan Roberts and Philip Hammer. They're going to go side by side into 3. They're going to be side by side into 4 as well. I think Philip Hammer's got it. Looked to be a little bit of a block there from Cypher. It just looked ever so slightly. We didn't have the best camera angle, admittedly. Just what it looked like. But I think all seems to be all has sorted back out now. But obviously that all it means now is just Philip Hammer has caught up. The gap between Philip Hammer and Vaughan Roberts is a little bit more is closer now than Vaughan Roberts is to Cypher. A little bit of backwards progress there, unfortunately, for Vaughan Roberts, but he's still got a little bit of time to make up. We're only halfway through this race, bear in mind. Still got 10 more laps to go, so another 13 minutes or so, and then we will be able to run you through race number 2. And with that all-important reverse grid, the reverse grid is going to be key. That's the key thing to watch, remember. Is going to be that reverse grid. Well, Roberts, though, is he going to make a move on Cypher? He tried to do this last lap, didn't quite work. Cypher holds it around the outside again. Good defensive driving from Cypher. It means he is going to be on the inside for turn 3. That's not going to be a bad thing as long as he can carry the momentum. There's going to be a possible side-by-side. Well, Roberts tries to carry the speed on the outside. He can't hold it there, surely. He tries to, though. Philip Hammer now tries to get back past. It's still side-by-side between the two and between the pair of them. And it is going to be. So Vaughan Roberts manages to stay ahead. Philip Hammer is going to follow him through. And possibly Manuel Lucchetta. Look at that gap from Manuel Lucchetta. That has just absolutely disappeared. And Lucchetta's going to get past him as well. So Thorsten Cypher has gone from P6 to P9 in the space of, again, another couple of 100 metres. It's amazing how quickly it can all change. Good capitalisation, though, from Lucchetta. Didn't hang about whatsoever. Just kept it pinned and committed into the corner. And it certainly paid off. But Lucchetta's got a couple of positions there within that first lap. So really, really well done from Manuel Lucchetta. It does mean, though, Philip Hammer's been promoted into 7th. I wonder if this is going to release Nick Vaughan Roberts. That gap is 2.3 seconds. Now, I would imagine there's still a possibility, depending on the pace that Vaughan Roberts has, there may be an opportunity, perhaps, for a top 5 if Vaughan Roberts can catch up to Tassato. But behind that gap, 2.3 seconds. That's quite a sizable gap, in all honesty. See, Lucchetta has a bit of a look down into turn 1, but decides against it. He will be staying behind for another few runs. There is Sebastian Schulz, someone who wasn't able to capitalise on the incidents and the happenings of last lap. So he remains in 10th for the moment. Sultan Diver is the next target. That was a very, very wide there from Sebastian Schulz. And that possibly may let Chaz Webber have a bit of a look going down in through 5. Long sweeping left. And you've got the very, very quick direction change into 6. Oh, that's a late lunge there from Chaz Webber. He's going to inside for turn 7, outside for turn 8, and then inside for turn 9. Turn 8's a bit too fast for corner. It's very, very difficult to hold the outside through there. And he is unable to maintain that position. But it is so, so close. How close does he want to be to the back of Chaz Webber? I don't even want to know, but that's very, very close indeed. This may even bring, having a look at this, this perhaps may bring, apologies, sorry, that's me, that's Cypher and Schultz. Sorry, Chaz Webber is behind there as well. So this may bring Chaz Webber into the mix as well, depending on how quick these guys can battle. It's still side by side as they go. Cypher's not wanting to give it up. I would probably concede into turn 1 and then try and get the move back. Although he turns in just a fraction too late. Doesn't get the drive that he wants to on exit. That will cost him a little bit. Depends. The slipstream will be taking into effect now. I don't think. No, he's too far away. So Sebastian Scholes manages to move up into 9th position now. But it has brought Chaz Webber into the mix, in all honesty. There's been a change for the for P2 up ahead. So we'll have a quick look at that in a few moments. In fact, let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that battle now, because Kevin Budgeon is wanting to get involved with that also. And here it is. Let's have a look at that overtake by Roger Hooker. Again, down into turn 3. So another popular overtaking opportunity here into turn 3. And textbook to overtake there. Can't argue with that. Kevin Budgeon tried to get back past. Tried to have another bit of a look, but was not successful in doing so. Through that tight right-hander of turn 9. Little bit wide there for Roger Hooker. And back mark at the negotiating. I believe that is for Girini. So you've got that 4. Then you've got the gap. Then Nick Vaughan Roberts. Nick Vaughan Roberts and Philip Hammer are both on a charge at the moment. They are absolutely on it, the pair of them. To give you an understanding of, I mean, in terms of pace, they haven't got enough pace at the rate they're going. They don't have enough pace to catch up purely on the actual lap times alone. That gap's coming down. It's coming down a couple of tenths every lap. So it is coming down. Depends on how much it will come down. The one thing that I'm keeping an eye on is if battling continues to happen, and Roger Hooker, obviously, he's got 3 cars that want that P2, this will come down. This gap will come down faster. That's the way, and that's going to be the way that Nick Vaughan Roberts and Philip Hammer are both going to catch up. Do not forget Manuel Lucchetta as well. Only 6 tenths behind Hammer at this current stage. Still 6 laps to go here for round number 5 of the Skip Barber World Cup. Or season 2 of the Skip Barber World Cup, I should say. Adam Miles, though, at the front, he has just checked out at this point. He has just gone, thank you very much, guys. And he's let them all battle behind. He's just been running laps. And the laps that he's been running, they've been fast laps as well. To give you an understanding of, to give you an indicator of what's actually been going on for the time. So the last lap time for Adam Miles was a 1:30.54. I do stand corrected, actually. Apologies. I stand corrected on what I said earlier about Vaughan Roberts and Philip Hammer. They absolutely have the pace to catch up to Roger Hooker, Kevin Budgeon, Chris Miles, and so on. Their last lap times for comparison, 1:31.03 for Roger Hooker, 1:30.06 for Nick Vaughan Roberts. Almost a second faster. And you can see this train. This train is getting there now. We're coming into these closing stages of this race, the final quarter of race number 1. And you can see that that gap has come down. The gap's also extended between Vaughan Roberts and Hammer as well. That's something interesting to note. So again, Philip Hammer just, again, maybe just doesn't quite have the pace as Vaughan Roberts. Maybe, again, he's just sitting back a little bit, allowing Vaughan Roberts to catch up. Battling, obviously, let them battle and go through. But you can see that was a bit of time loss there for Nicholas Assato. That's probably dropped him a tenth or so, I would imagine. Look at that gap, though, already. Went from 1.3 seconds to 5 tenths of a second. Now through 8. Vaughan Roberts is almost on the back of him. In fact, he is. Nick Vaughan Roberts is already on the back of Nicholas Assato. Really, really good. That was an impressive couple of laps there for Vaughan Roberts. There's a rear view shot of the. So this is looking back from Roger Hooker's car, currently in P2, and now he is leading what is a train of 6 cars. And that is Hooker, Budgeon, Miles, Tassato, Vaughan Roberts, Hammer, and Lucchetta as well. Sebastian Scholes, he is a little bit too far off at this stage, I feel. 2.6 seconds is the gap between himself and Lucchetta. That is a sizable gap, unless he has got some outrageous pace that we don't know about quite yet. But at the moment, Sebastian Scholes is running around about the same pace as Manuel Lucchetta. So again, unless there's going to be some incredible amount of battling going on, I don't really think there's going to be much that Scholes is able to do. Thorsten Seifert has had a moment off. What is this going into the last? Oh, big, nasty bit of contact there between Seifert and Webber. That was a nasty little bit of contact. Managed to continue. I don't think he would have picked up any damage from that as it was tyre-to-tyre contact. Ivan Fabro's had a bit of a moment. Again, it's on that tricky turn 9. It opens up. It does not open up as much as you think, and that's one of the things that we saw there. Chris Wayne has had a moment going down. This seems to be going down into turn number 10. That's a very, very big off. Manages to keep it all going, though. That is the main thing. And then Efren Pizzati going into turn 3 has had another moment as well. Again, nothing too major. Probably won't be any time loss at all from there. It's that Tasato versus... I think it's Tasato and Christopher Miles were almost swapping... I thought I saw they were swapping places for a brief moment. It could have been some network connection issues, perhaps. And there's a little bit of... So you're starting to see now some defensive driving come into play here. This defensive driving, people start to move across the circuit a little bit. Just try and take some... Just using and making their car simply as wide as they possibly can. But is it going to be enough, though? So Tasato currently running top 5. Yeah, very, very impressive performance for the AM driver. Through 1, a little bit wide through turn 1. That would have compromised him through turn 2. Vaughan Roberts has got a better run going on the XE. Switches one way, then has to switch the other. No positions there yet again. Hammer and Lucetta's right on the back of the train now. So this is very much a 6-way battle for P3, essentially. Yeah, we've seen time and time again in this series, anything can happen. Even we saw it last week, actually, as well, when we were at the Hungaro ring. But even on the last lap, it can all change quite drastically. A little bit of a correction there for Vaughan Roberts. You just see that. I think he was anticipating Tasato to be quite in that particular position when he did turn in. That maybe just upset his rhythm a little bit, although not going to be too much of concern. As Philip Hammer is still around 4/10 behind. Excuse me. Very much into these closing stages now. Driving styles have got a little bit more aggressive, and they will get more aggressive as the next laps, the next 2 or 3 laps count down. We are on 17. Apologies, it says lap number 20, but we didn't actually see a white flag. So that is actually it. So there's only 17 laps here, and there we go. Adam Miles does take the victory for race number 1. And then coming down, we have Tasato manages to stay in P5. Miles, Budge and Hooker are 4th, 3rd and 2nd respectively. Very, very good battling. I thought there was going to be a couple more laps. That's what the computer was telling us. But that obviously was not the case. So apologies for the confusion there. But overall, you know, very, very good stuff and a very, very good race. Fair play to Adam Miles. Just managed to get that position relatively early on. And then from there, just absolutely checked out at that point. So very well done indeed. Couple more drivers are left to finish. And then we're going to be... Oh, bit of contact there. So Adam Miles goes for a little bit of a half spin. We'll bring you your full finishing results in a second. And then we will be getting ready for race number 2. And in fact, your race results are going to be here for you. And in fact, so we've just gone into a very, very quick warm-up. So let's bring the overall positionings up for you. And in fact, there we are. We do have them up there. So Adam Miles taking that race win. Roger Hooker in 2nd. Kevin Budge in 3rd. Christopher Miles in P4. Nicola Tasato in 5th. Nick Roberts 6th. Philip Hammer in 7th. Manuel Lucetta 8th. Sebastian Schulz takes P9. And then Chaz Webber rounding out the top 10. Thorsten Seifer in 11th. Ivan Fabro takes P12 with Efrem Pizzati 13th. Daniele Forgerini finishing a lap down in 14th. And then Chris Wayne also finishing a lap down in P15. We are going to take a very, very short break. Do stick around. We'll be back in a few moments to get ready for race number 2 of round 5 of the Skip Barber World Cup. Stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to round number 5 of the Skip Barber World Cup Season 2. We are at Winton Motor Raceway. A fantastic first race around this very, very new circuit to the iRacing platform. We're just in a very, very quick warm-up for a moment, and then we'll be getting you out and getting everything ready for race number 2. Now, the big difference between race 1 and race number 2 here is the top 10 reverse from race number 1. So what that is going to mean is Adam Miles, the winner of race number 1, will be dropped down to P10, and then second place will be down into third with 9th place, and so on and so forth. We're going to bring you the grid in a few moments just so you can see what that does look like. But yeah, that top 10 reverse certainly will spice things up. And in fact, we're going to be able to bring you the grid now for race number 2. So here we are, Chaz Webber taking the pole position. Sebastian Scholes in second. Manuel Lucchetta taking third. Philip Hammer in fourth. Nick Vaughan Roberts in fifth. Nicola Tassato in sixth. Christopher Miles seventh. Kevin Budgeon takes P8. Roger Hook in ninth. Adam Miles in 10th. Thorsten Seifer 11th. Ivan Fabro in P12. And we have Efren Prazzati, Daniele Forgerini, and Chris Wayne round out your full grid. Drivers just starting to get onto into their respective starting grids. And in fact, there we are. You can see cars starting to jump onto the grid now. So another 15 or so seconds, and then we will be underway. A couple of drivers still left to jump on the grid. And then we should be away. In fact, one more to go. Philip Hammer. And then we should be... In fact, there we go. All drivers on the grid. Starting lights are about to come on. There's 3, there is 4, there is 5. And we are underway for race number 2. Again, pretty even start between Webber and Scholes. Is it going to be? And who's it going to be? It's going to be Scholes that's leading down to turn 1. It's going to be Hammer and Lucchetta. They're going to be battling there side by side, 2 by 2. Noah's Ark style as they go through. Big contact. Big, massive contact for Chaz Webber. And Sebastian Scholes tried to go side by side through turn 2 and just did not work at all. Philip Hammer has certainly used that to his advantage. A little bit more battling going on a bit further down the field. I think Roger Hook is trying to have a bit of a look. Possibly, I thought he's going to have a bit of a look on the inside of Christopher Miles, but decides against it though. Takes a slightly tighter line. This may help him down into turn 7. Pretty even Stevens over for the remainder of the field. There's certainly been some interesting starts within this championship, and so we're going to have a this certainly has been added to the list. We're going to want to have another look at that. Once everything's settled down a little bit after the first couple laps, we'll have a look. Bit of a lock up there for Roger Hooker. That would have cost him not really all that much in all honesty. But it might possibly have an effect, because Adam Miles, look at that, he's already up a couple of positions. So he started in 10th, remember. He's already up 2. So this could well be another potential win here on the cards if he can really get those lap times in. Philip Hammer, though, we know that he had pace in the first round. Chris Wayne overtook Efren Prazzati there, so we'll see if we can get another replay of that. A couple of drivers having a little bit of a moment. That's everyone went off there, I think, on the last turn. I don't think anyone actually managed to get through that. I don't think anyone managed to get through it without going off for race number 1. But, you know, cold ties, it's understandable. Big train, though, still leads. You know, the top 10 are all in one continuous train with no gap being over 1 second. In fact, majority of the gap's been under half a second. So you can see again how close. In fact, the biggest gap that we've got within that positioning. Webber and Scholes are now both in the pit lane, but the biggest gap now is between Chris Wayne and Ivan Fabro. And again, as soon as battling starts to happen, that gap will just plummet. So keep an eye on that. For Chris Wayne, he's at 1.6 seconds away. It's necessarily out, not necessarily out of the running at the moment. Philip Hammer, though, he has got an 0.8 of a second lead on Nick Vaughan Roberts. That was a big lock-up there for Girini. Chaz Webber is back out on circuit, so is Sebastian Schulz. So they both go out, and I'll tell you what, now we've got a tiny bit of, I say we're about to have a bit of breathing room, although, again, this train is just absolutely ginormous, and what it does mean is there could be a possible move there for Adam Miles. He goes, nearly a bit of contact between Adam Miles and Roger Hooker. I thought there was going to be a bit of contact there, but luckily that wasn't the case. They all now go through down into 11 and 12. All concertinas up ever so slightly. Adam Miles has certainly got the pace, I think, on Roger Hooker at the moment in these early stages. Depends, though, is a bit of a wiggle for Cyfair, I think. Here, little bit of tiny little bit of movement. There's a good battling going on between Pizzati and Chris Wayne, but meanwhile, I think, yes, I believe that Adam Miles did get that position on Roger Hooker going down into 1. Yes, very much so. But again, down here, have a look at this. Pizzati and Chris Wayne are having a great battle and a great scrap here. Coming down into, on the exit 3, down into 4. Very, very close between the two. Possibly Pizzati tries to go around the outside, the long way round, but nothing there. Chris Wayne goes and takes his normal racing line also. So as it go through 5, switching it up through 6. And a big braking zone. Well, relatively light braking zone actually through 7, keeping up that momentum. A little bit wide, big slide, bit of contact there as well. Chris Wayne goes off the circuit. That's going to be a struggle for him to get back on. In all honesty, though, fair play to Chris Wayne. He managed to get the car back on circuit with relative pace. He didn't lose out too much. He has a bit of a moment there, though. In fact, he's decided that is it. Maybe he's got a little bit of damage from that contact with Pizzati. So a bit of a shame there for Chris Wayne. They were both having a really, really good battle. Let's have a we have got a bit of time here now, a bit of breathing room. So let's see what happened again. Remember, so you see Scholes on the inside, and just a little bit. Unfortunately, I almost think that the little bit of the jump that happened to the just going over that jump ever so slightly just upset that. Well, it's just a little bit slow. I don't think Scholes was anticipating. Sorry, yeah, you see there. Yeah, there's a bit of a lift. So you see the lift there from Sebastian Scholes, and there is that lift. And I just don't think, unfortunately, that Chaz Webber was expecting it. Unfortunately, so a little bit of a shame again for both of those guys. But they are both out, or in fact, I think Chaz Webber has recently retired the car. This is the battle to watch out for, though. Currently being led by Nicola Tassato as he goes a little bit wide. That's going to cost him a position. Definitely, Adam Miles is going to. Oh, I thought it was going to cost him a position. Doesn't though. That is not the case. So as we go through down that really, really nice complex 7, 8, and 9. Again, there's absolutely nothing between these drivers here. So Tassato still leading the way in this little battle here with Adam Miles, Roger Hooker, Thorsten Cyfair, and then Fabro leading the rear and bringing up the rear. Roger Hooker slap bang in the middle of it though. Oh, a bit wide there for Ivan Fabro. That was a commentator's curse there, Ivan. Sorry about that. That gap. He's still maintaining the position, obviously, but he has just dropped a little bit of time. You can see at the front, Philip Hammer has checked out at the moment. 1.2 seconds is the gap to Nick Vaughan Roberts. So he has dropped now from the toe that Vaughan Roberts will be having. Is it possibly going to move? No, Adam Miles decides to back out of it for the moment, though, but gets a good run. He gets a very, very good one going through 1. Gets an even better run going through turn 2. They're going to be side by side through 3. Is Roger Hooker going to try and follow Tassato as well? Or follow Adam Miles through on the inside of Tassato. And you know what? I think he's gone and done it. But Tassato hangs it around the outside. What a retake of that position there. Fantastic defending there from Tassato. Didn't let Hooker have it whatsoever. Fought it all the way through turn 4. Managed to carry a hell of a lot of speed through there, in all honesty. So fair play to Tassato. Cannot argue with that whatsoever. Really, really good stuff. Let's come through down again. Complex for the 5th time in this second race. Different lines I'm noticing as well. Very, very, quite a spread of different lines that people are taking through that 7, 8, and 9. You see a couple of drivers are hugging the inside of the corner quite a lot, and they're trying to make sure that they carry simply as much corner momentum, or try the shortest distance possible through 7 and 8, and then cutting back on turn 9. A couple of other drivers are trying to do a cutback on turn 8, and then another cutback on turn 9. A couple of other drivers are trying to do a slightly alternate line in terms of a slightly wider line through turn 7. So a wide variety of different lines here that people are trying to make sure and just trying to see what works for them. Different driving styles will promote different opportunities and different driving styles, naturally, and different ways to approach corners. Everyone's got a lot more comfortable though with taking these curves. These curves are a big, like I said, they're pretty aggressive curves, especially in a car like this, but everyone seems to be getting a lot more confident of them now. Adam Miles, though, in P6, he hasn't dropped... Oh, Tasato hasn't dropped... Adam Miles hasn't dropped Nicola Tasato. To be fair, so Tasato doing really, really well. And all he needs to do is finish, and he'll be gaining some points back on Chaz Webber after the first in the championship. 4/10 of a second. 4/10 of a second is the gap. Yeah, so that's where you see, that's where the different lines are coming into effect through turn 9, and just seems to be a little bit more that the line that Adam Miles has taken, a little bit more favourable. Oh, a big load of understeer there from Tasato. And maybe looks if he carried just a fraction too much speed through the corner. Something's happened to Philip Hammer as well. Philip Hammer has had an off somewhere, because that gap has come right back down. There's nothing that I can see, and there's nothing that's telling me what has happened. It just happens to be that gap between Hammer and Nick Vaughan Roberts has come right down. Ivan Fabro, thoughts on so far? These are one of the closest battles that we currently have. And very, very good. Very, very good line. This may be a possible move. This could be a move, actually, going through. However, he pulls to the inside. Last late break as he tries to give it a go, but I think Sofer manages to hold it around the outside. So he keeps it all in check and maintains that position for a little bit longer. Through turn 10, although Sofer's a little bit slow, but I think Ivan Fabro had a bit of a slide there also. But turn 5 again seems to be still causing a little bit of problems for a couple of these guys. Down through 8. A slightly wider line there by Fabro, but he carries a bit more speed though, so that has compromised him a bit on the entry into turn 9. And that's compromised him big time on the exit of turn 9 as well. It's a lot of time lost there for Fabro. That would have cost him at least 0.2 of a second. He's now got to make that time up all over again. And then not only that, he's then got to try and get back past all over again. Up the front though, the first battle we've seen really for the up at the front. We're nearly halfway through this race, and at this point, Adam Miles has got around about a 2-second gap on P2. But as it stands at the moment, this is the closest battle that we've seen for the lead so far in this round, and it's certainly not going to stay like that. It's going to get even closer because you know that Nick Roberts has got some pace as well as Philip Hammer. Adam Miles, though, I say again, race winner for race 1. He's a little bit too far back at the moment. The gaps are too spread out, I think, at this moment in time. There's going to have to be some serious performance that Adam Miles is going to have to pull out of the car to try and make that position stick. Nicola Tasato and Roger Hooker, though, they're having a good old scrap. I think there was actually a bit of... there was a little bit of change in there in terms of positioning, so we'll see if we can get those... Yeah, we'll see if we can get that, that position and that replay back. Slightly wider line for Tasato there. That almost seems to be the more preferred line for drivers. A lot more drivers are taking that line, so this is the move initially. So I tell you, very, very late lunge there by Roger Hooker, and to be fair to Tasato, he did give him the space, but just was able to carry the speed through turn 2. And then obviously that allowed him to stay ahead. But another lap to go. Probably maybe a carbon copy. We'll see if we can stay between with these two here. And just see if they're going to do something similar. It's the gap light. You can just see it. It's close. It is close. I don't think it's close enough to make another send. It's going to be a couple of tenths of a second by the time we get to turn 1. No, it's a little bit too far away. You could try and send it from there, but it'd be such a brave and bold send. It most probably would end in... Whoa! Wow, Roger Hooker doing a bit of rallycross and a bit of rallying there, taking it completely airborne. I can't imagine that was very comfortable for him in the car. Yeah, these cars, they're pretty tough though. They can take a beating like that. The last thing you want to do, if you were to do that in something like an LMP2 or a Formula 3, you'd have underfloor damage. It would just go, it would be all sorts of wrong. A little bit of a tide to line for Roger Hooker though. He keeps it and pulls a little bit of time back, in all honesty, I think. It's like a big slide there for Tasato. And Roger Hooker's going to try to go around the outside of turn 8. That's going to be a brave move because it doesn't quite have the pace. And it's such a long corner. And it's deceivingly long, that turn 8, the left-hander. So you've got to be very committed to going around the outside. Plus, you've got to take quite a bit of speed. And Tasato goes wide. The turn 9, infamous turn 9 again. Catching another driver out. This time, Nicola Tasato just runs that little bit wide. And most probably what would have happened there, let's see if we can get a replay of it, is you'll hear the throttle come in, and then as the throttle comes in, what will happen is you'll find that the front end will lift. That then pulls load away from the front tyres, and that's where the understeer comes in. That's what happened there. Christopher Miles has had a off somewhere, or there has actually since been an overtake, and also there's been an overtake on Nick Vaughan Roberts has now overtaken Philip Hammer for the lead. I wonder why that was. Let's have a quick look, see if we can find a replay of it. I think I know why. Is it going to be? Yeah, just big moment there for Philip Hammer. He managed to keep it in check though. So that's what happened there to Nick Vaughan Roberts. So again, just drove past. Really, it didn't really need all that much to say. Philip Hammer didn't fight it till he's sensible. He knows that he can just sit with him and then try and take it back on the next lap. We may see this chopping and changing of laps now for the remainder of the race. Let's see what happened to Nicola Tasato though. Yes, you see the understeer. You can just hear the throttle come in. Understeer then removes the front end is then as a cause of that, front end becomes less loaded, and that's where the understeer generation will come in. In that instance, you'd want to release the throttle a little bit, wait for the car to come back around, and then reapply the throttle. Balancing the car on the throttle like that is absolutely fine. You can do it. Just got to make sure that if you do find yourself going a little bit too much into the throttle too early, that was very bumpy from Tasato, then the best thing to do is just to pull that, just to pull it back ever so slightly and just wait for the car to come back to you. Philip Hammer and Vaughan Roberts once again lead. No position changes here at the moment. Maybe Vaughan Roberts. Vaughan Roberts may actually have the position. He may have the current pace for the moment. We'll have to see. But the infield section, that between final half, I'd almost say, between 7, 8, and 9. That's the biggest. I think time difference between the two drivers here. So looking at the instant timer, so the instant relative, it's 0.4 of a second between the two, going into turn 7. It was 0.4 of a second into turn 7. And on the exit of turn 9, it did go up at one point. It went up to 5. It went up to half a second, so a tenth was gained. But since then has been dropped down from Vaughan Roberts again. So that gap, it's stagnated. I think it's sort of 0.4 of a second. Although the final two corners again, we know that Vaughan Roberts is very strong. Seems to be just very strong overall at this circuit. So does he pull any time out on the exit of turn 12? And in fact, no, he doesn't. He actually loses a bit of time. So don't count Manuel Lucchetta, actually. Have a look at that. I completely oblivious there to Manuel Lucchetta, who is also there as well. So he's got 0.7 of a second between the gap. But again, as soon as these guys start battling, that is it. That's where it all just goes. Those times will just come crashing down. Adam Miles has passed Kevin Budgeon. So let's see the overtake with him and Christopher Miles. And down into turn 1. I think Chris backed out, opened the just came out of the throttle a little bit there. Is it going to be? Oh, it's a carbon copy. What it looks like. It's going to be a carbon copy of what happened with Chris Miles, and it is indeed. Makes the move even before turn 1. So that has opened up. So now, all of a sudden, Adam Miles has worked his way up back to 4th. Very, very strong performance there from Adam Miles. You know, he's got a, in terms of position game one, he's up 6 positions. So, you know, really, really good stuff. Very, very good drive to come back from starting in P10 and what's been a very, very close field. Normally these gaps have opened up a little bit more by within this stage of the race. But as it stands at the moment, you know, that gap certainly doing, you know, the gap itself, it certainly can't argue it. 4.2 seconds is the gap between Lucetta and Miles. There's going to have to be some serious battling between these three for that gap to really come down in any stretch of any, of actually anything that Adam Miles can then use. Don't necessarily think, again, everyone has enough experience in these cars. It's all about the timing. And the problem is, as soon as you drive too early, as soon as you overdrive the car a little bit or try and push the car a bit too early and try and battle a bit too early, it all goes wrong. Just all goes wrong. So there really is very, very little point. That's why you see in the last couple of corners, the last couple of laps, that's when it starts to pick up a little bit. Although in saying that, Hammer is very, very close to Nick Vaughan Roberts at the moment as they go into 7. So I just want to ride on board with Philip Hammer. I want to see if I can hear more so if there's any lifting going on with Philip Hammer. So that the lift, if there is a lift, it's going to be on the main straight. We'll see if Philip Hammer can pull any time back. Oh, I tell you what, he's pulled a bit of time because Vaughan Roberts has gone a little bit wide. He comes to this, he's going to dart to the left late, and there we go. So he tries to force Vaughan Roberts to take the inside line. Tries to go on the outside through 11. That's brave, but he's going to get a better run, much better run through there. He might even have the corner before he gets to turn 1. Which way is he going to go? Nick Vaughan Roberts forces him round the outside, but that means he's on the outside for turn 1. He's going to be on the inside for turn 2. Who's going to be last the late break? As it is Nick Vaughan Roberts, but Hammer's going to have that position. Is there going to be a cutback possibly? No, there is not. No, well, actually, as I say that, Vaughan Roberts is going to try and give it a go. We know that momentum can be kept up through here. Don't forget Lucetta, though, because Lucetta's got front row seats to the battle. Philip Hammer, though, after all that, took him 3 corners to make it, but he has made that position. So fair play to Philip Hammer, riding now on board with Manuel Lucetta this time. Hammer goes a little bit wide. That would have cost him a little bit of time. I'm intrigued to see what Lucetta does. Is he going to try and push? Or is he going to let Roberts and Hammer battle between the pair of them and then try and get the positions and pick up what positions are left? He has got the pace. I'll tell you what, though, this has brought... Look at the gap between Adam Miles. 3.5 seconds is now the gap. It is coming down. We'll have a look at what these the differences are in terms of lap time. But, again, if there's some more back and forth between these guys, this will become a very, very exciting final few laps. There's 5 laps left to go, so still got a good 8 minutes left on track. And certainly anything is possible within those 8 minutes. Oh, very, very good speed there carried through Lucetta. Good speed on entry. A little bit slower on exit, though. The gap has opened up a little bit to Philip Hammer and Vaughan Roberts. Lucetta has a bit of a look to the inside, just to... No moves there as well, just purely just to try and fill the mirrors of Vaughan Roberts, the number 11. 3.7 seconds is the gap for Miles. It's gone up a little bit by a couple of tenths of a second. This is a good battle here. We need to keep an eye out for this. We can focus our attention a little bit further down between Roger Hook and Nicola Tessato, who are still battling for P7. That 0.3 of a second gap. It looks like a lot of sparks are being kicked up by Roger Hooker. I'm not entirely sure why, in all honesty, because no one else seems to be kicking up sparks. Now, I don't know if that's because you can change hardly anything within these cars as well in terms of setup-wise. Very, very little that you can change. Just trying to think possibly whether I don't actually know what it could be. Could be fuel. Could be I have absolutely no clue. But Sato is keeping up with Roger Hooker, and it just needs, a potential small little curb to be hit wrong or something like that, something similar. And that gap goes from 0.4 of a second to bumper to bumper. I'll tell you what, though, I think Roger Hooker had a little bit of a slower run going down into down on the exit of 10. I think that was the case, because that gap came down around about a tenth of by about a tenth overall. Just depends what's the line going to be for both drivers. It's a slightly better line, I believe. It is a better line for Roger Hooker. Actually, sorry, it was a better exit for Nicola Sato. Sato can't quite do anything about it as of yet. It gets a little bit wide. That's cost him half a tenth or so. Lucchetta's got past Nick Roberts, I've just seen. So that would have been, again, a move going through turn 1 and turn 2 into 3. So let's see if we can get a replay of that. And in fact, I think we can get a replay actually straight away. This is the replay. Is it going into turn 1? It is indeed. They are going to be side by side. Nick Roberts on the inside this time. But Lucchetta just carries the speed. Fair play to Manuel Lucchetta. Fair play for Warren Roberts for giving the space. But Lucchetta just carried the speed through turn 1. And then through turn 2, used all of the track, well, as much of the track as he could. What this has done, though, this has released Hammer a little bit. It has released Hammer. 0.8 of a second is the gap. Now, realistically, that's a tricky. You can see Adam Miles just went out of shot there. 2.7 seconds the gap between those two. It depends if, again, another little small mistake from Hammer, and that will bring that time once again right down. It's around about 0.7 now as they come across the line. There will be a little bit of slipstream going on here. 3 more laps to go. Actually, apologies. Sorry, no. I'm getting confused. Again, sorry, that was the white flag. You see Barney waving the white flag furiously. So this is the last lap. Sorry, again, that was the timing tower confusing me and letting me know. So only 1 more lap to go here, and Philip Hammer is currently leading the way by 0.7 of a second. So all he needs to do is just, even he can afford to drop 2-3 tenths as well. He doesn't need to push at 10 tenths. He can push at 9 tenths and still have a comfortable lead going on the exit of that final corner. Just needs to keep it cool. Needs to keep it controlled. That's all he needs to do. Come through down into 7 for the final time. There's a little bit of pace. A little bit of time gain there for Lucchetta. He has already pulled a couple of tenths. But is it going to be enough? 3 more corners left to go as they exit turn 9. Down into 10. Again, momentum conservation's key. You don't want to go too wide, but the margins for error are very slim. You can see that there's going to be... You can see Philip Hammer, he's taking it a little bit easier because Lucchetta pulled out another 1/10 at him just through turn 10. 2 more corners left to go, though, again. Just needs to keep it controlled. It can be bumper to bumper, to be fair, for all that Hammer is going to care, as long as he comes out of the corner cleanly, which he does, and it is going to be Philip Hammer. Much closer battle for first place this time, and Philip Hammer taking race 2 victory for round number 5 here. Lucchetta in 2nd, and then Vaughan Roberts in 3rd. Very, very strong performance from the top 3. Adam Miles as well. Good 2nd race for him in 4th. A couple more drivers left to go. That was Christian Miles managed to stay ahead. Couldn't quite get past Kevin Budgeon. The gap only being 2.5 tenths of a second between the two. So, fair play indeed. Good racing all around. A really, really good couple of battles that we've seen between within both races. Again, very, very clean. Couple of little instances, admittedly, again, it's unfortunately it's just with the way with motorsport. There are going to be incidents, and it's how people manage them, obviously. But yeah, certainly, I think some people would have been happier with some different results. But that is the nature of racing. We are going to get the race results for you in a second. So we've got a couple more drivers to come across the line. And those, we've actually got Daniele Forgerini that's just about to come across the line in a second. In fact, where is he on circuit? There he is. One more corner to go. And then we will be able to get you the full official finishing results. And then we'll, all being well, be able to have a couple of conversations with some of our drivers. And then we will be wrapping race number 2 up and round number 5 up as well. So, the official... Sorry, apologies. That is the Heat 1 race. The feature race results here. So, Philip Hammer taking that win only by 3.5 tenths of a second. Lucetta in second place with Nick Von Roberts taking P3. Adam Miles in 4th with Kevin Budgeon in P5. Christopher Miles takes 6th. Roger Hooker in 7th. Nicola Tazzato P8. Thorsten Cypher in 9th. Ivan Fabro in 10th. Efren Pizzati in 11th with Sebastian Scholes in 12th. Daniele Forgerini in 13th. Chris Wayne in 14th. And then Chaz Webber, unfortunately, 16 laps down in P16. P15 after that early incident. Now, when it comes to that incident at the start, was a tricky one. That was a very, very awkward position to be in all honesty, and a position I don't think anyone would have wanted to have been in. It just seems, Sebastian Vettel, you see as he went over the curb to try and curb some of the understeer. We'll gloss over that. Trying to just sort of maintain the understeer a little bit. It just didn't. Backed out, and unfortunately, Chance Webber, I just don't think was expecting for Scholes to back out that much, and that was the main cause. I believe that would have just been the main cause of the incident. It's a shame. It is a racing incident. I don't think anyone was particularly at fault, in all honesty. So it is one of those things. But for the racing, for the most part, overall was very, very good indeed. We have got our first driver that we're going to be able to have a chat with now, and it is going to be Adam Miles. Adam, first off, congratulations on race 1. Very, very good victory there. And then, race 2, I think all in all, so you've got P1 and P4. That's got to be a weekend and an event that you're happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. I traded off a little bit of qualifying points to start a little bit further forward in the first one, and that race just went as planned. And then I did expect not to be able to move forward very much from P10. Just looking at the DRS train that was behind me in race 1, I thought, 7th or 8th. But of course, I think I haven't looked back at it yet. There was a first corner incident which gave me a couple of spots, and then picked off a few people. Got stuck behind Nicola Tazzato for a while, which I think gave Philip, Manuel, Nick, etc. the gap that was just unassailable. But yeah, I mean, first and fourth, I would have taken that at the beginning of the night.
Well, certainly so, and I think as anyone would, to be fair. Moving into, I think in terms of the championship wise, that certainly would have helped in terms of championship. Looking at the points before this race, so you were in P4, but yeah, you've certainly pulled some points. So I potentially think that third place for you in the championship is certainly possible after this event.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. I think there's a dropped round. I'm right in saying so. I had a run of a couple of bad, average, I say, results at the beginning of the season. So once one gets dropped off, we'll see where we're going. But yeah, second or third is the target now, I think.
Well, and like I said, we've got a couple more rounds left to go. So hopefully, indeed, we'll be able to see. Hopefully, we'll see some of these similar results moving forward. Anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let it go?
Yourself, of course, doing the broadcast. I'll go make some late dinner, and watch it back. I always enjoy it. And then just everyone at the top of the game in that race. There was mostly clean driving, quick driving. So congratulations to Philip on his Heat 2 win as well.
Absolutely, no, very, very good stuff indeed. Adam, thank you very, very much for joining us, and we'll hopefully catch up with you next race.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah. There we are. Adam Miles for really, really good result overall. P1 in race 1 and then P4 in race 2. So certainly pulled some points back, and I would almost certainly say that P3 is on the cards for him in terms of the standing leading into the next round. But that seems to be everyone for the moment. We are going to be wrapping up. So thank you all for watching. As always, it is an absolute pleasure. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Absolute Sim Racing channel. It helps us out massively. And again, to show your support for the Skip Barber World Cup. Big thanks to everyone at Skip Barber, at the Skip Barber World Cup series as well. All the admins and Benny for organising the events and organising the series. It's fantastic. And again, we're very, very pleased to be able to provide the broadcast for the season 2 of the World Cup. Going forward down into next race, it's certainly going to be an interesting. Certainly something that's going to be interesting moving down into, coming up to the final sections. We've got a couple of weeks break, and then we've got round 6 at Brands Hatch. Now, Brands Hatch is going to be a great circuit for these, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So that is going to be at the same time on the 5th of June. So please make sure you do subscribe to the channel so you can watch that event. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. But as always, everyone, we will see you then. Until next time, though, take care and stay safe.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.